Stop violence against doctors. An ongoing study by Indian Medical Association reports that 75% of doctors in India have faced violence at some point of time in their life. And most of the time, it is verbal abuse. Emergency and ICU are the most violent venues, and visiting hours is the most violent time. In India, we believe that doctors are the gods present in earth in front of our eyes. So, why some of the people disrespect them or abuse them, beat them, and harass them? Why there is this problem in our country? Let us find out. Now, let us see some examples. On 31st October 2019, two residents of Banaras Hindu University were beaten by patient attendants and goons in the parking space who escaped after the assault on motorbikes in Varanasi. On 14th June 2019, a doctor was tied to a tree, robbed of his money and belongings. His wife and daughter were gang raped in the Gaya district of Bihar. In 11th June 2019, a junior resident doctor at Neer Ratan Sisar Medical College Hospital was hurled a brick to the head by the relatives of a 75-year-old patient. He suffered from a skull fracture and needed ICU admission. On 5th July 2019, a Kolkata doctor was manhandled by the mob after the death of the 6-year-old child in the Garden Reach area. Here is another example. The latest act of violence was faced by the doctors and staff of Aura District Hospital after the death of a critical patient. Around 3 to 4 doctors were physically assaulted with families of the late patient, and the on-duty medical officer, Dr. Nabarun Majumdar, suffered most. The shoulder of Dr. Majumdar got dislocated and he will be not able to join work for around 3 months. Another doctor, Dr. Pramit Basu, received injury in his head. The culprits also vandalized the hospital and damaged the medical equipments, including the ECG machine. The most horrifying incident was the death of Dr. Vandana Das ma'am. The murder of Vandana Das, a medical doctor, took place in Kottarakara, Kerala on 10th May 2023. She was stabbed to death while on hospital duty by an addict suffering from withdrawal paranoia who was brought to the Kottarakara Taluk Hospital by the police. The murderer was identified as a 42-year-old school teacher from Poyapalli in Kollam. The murder sparked outrage among healthcare professionals in Kerala, and they demanded strict legal action against those committed violence acts against healthcare professionals. Dr. Vandana Das was a 22-year-old medical doctor who had studied at the Azizia Institute of Medical Science, Kollam. She was working at the Korakara Taluk Hospital as a part of her internship training. On 10th May 2023, a crime suspect was brought for medical examination by the police at around 4:30 a.m. at the Kottarakara Taluk Hospital. According to the police, this crime suspect named Sandeep, an upper primary school teacher, was found in Poyapalli with injuries on one of his legs. He was under the influence of alcohol. He was nabbed by the police after he voluntarily dialed 112 since he was making a ruckus in his neighborhood over the fact that he was feeling threatened over his life by someone and was taken to the hospital for medical examination. Two people, including a close relative, accompanied him to the hospital. At the hospital, Sandeep started attacking a policeman on duty and another person in the dressing room of the hospital. Seeing this, everyone around him fled, except for Das, who could not manage to run. Sandeep then took a scissor from the dressing room and stabbed Das multiple times. She sustained multiple injuries on her chest and neck and was immediately taken to a hospital in Thiruvananthapuram, where she died. Her autopsy reveals that she was fatally stabbed by a surgical scissor over 10 times on her neck and back. It also stated that Sandeep continued stabbing the victim even after she fell to the ground. The Kerala Government Medical Officers Association and the Indian Medical Association called for a one-day Kerala-wide protest over the death of Das. The incident sparked outrage among doctors, accusing the government and hospitals of having poor work conditions for interns and lack of safety for doctors against violence. Hearing this incident made me very much disturbed, as I am also a budding doctor, a first year MBBS student. I was very sad and was feeling scared whether I will be safe when doing my intern. Is there really safety for doctors? Once people were saying doctors are gods that we can see in earth, but now people have changed. May her soul rest in peace. This incident is about a suicide case. Dr. Anurag Kumar from AIMS New Delhi committed suicide. He jumped off from the 10th floor of his hostel. His mobile phone was found on the terrace. He was battling with depression for quite a long time. Anurag sir was doing his MD in psychiatry from AIMS New Delhi. Suicide among Indian doctors is concern. Majority are young undergraduate and postgraduate medical students. Female doctors are more than male doctors. Most doctors were reported to be depressed and used lethal methods such as hanging and medications to die. In studies showed that one-fourth of suicides were MBBS students, one-third were postgraduate medical students, and rest were practicing doctors. There are many studies in India about depression and suicidal ideation among medical students because of multiple stresses. Postgraduate medical students constituted more than 30% of doctors' suicide in the study's report. Post-graduation may also have additional stresses for individuals such as financial burden, more professional responsibility, and many get married to start their families. The studies from newspaper reports has limited information on such stresses, but in another study from India, residents in general had more depression and suicidal ideation. It is important to engage postgraduates in medical colleges in mental health awareness programs as soon as they join the course. Many studies on doctors have looked into burnout and depression. Reasons mentioned were not interested in MBBS, ragging, bullying, exam anxiety, exam failure. This incident also made all of the medical students quite depressed. We got to know that the doctor who committed suicide was doing psychiatry. Though he was doing psychiatry, he also faced a lot of psychological issues like depression, which he did not know how to cope up with and committed suicide. Attacks on medical professionals are on the rise in India, and doctors are demanding protection. Many say the problem is rooted in the nation's troubled healthcare system. A group of people had manhandled a senior cardiologist at a private hospital over the treatment of a patient. There was a mass resignation of doctors in West Bengal after a mob attacked a junior doctor. The attack was triggered by the death of a patient, with the family alleging medical negligence. According to a study by the IMA, over 75% of doctors have faced violence of some kind in the workplace. In most cases, the patient's relatives were actively involved, in turn, students at risk in state-run hospitals. Looking beyond individual incidents, experts say the violence needs to be understood within the context of India's poorly funded public health system. They point to problems including improper management due to limited resources and staff, high healthcare costs, and extended stays in private hospitals as factors leading to potentially violent situations. Government figures show there are 3.4 million registered nurses and 1.3 million allied and healthcare professionals, including doctors, in the country. This is far too few for India, which has recently overtaken China to become the most populous country in the world. According to the Indian Journal of Public Health, India will need at least 2 million doctors by 2030. Sumit Ray, a medical superintendent, a critical care specialist at Holy Family Hospital, told over privatization with major elements of secondary and tertiary care being provided by for-profit healthcare providers has led to escalating costs and significant out-of-pocket expenditures on healthcare. He added, India spends just 1.2% of its GDP on public health and is in position 152 in the global ranking of public health spending. Out-of-pocket health expenditure has forced many into debt. This has led to significant indebtedness, and when the outcome of the treatment is not what the family expects, it leads to violence. The violence is due to multiple factors. The most important is an overall loss of trust in the healthcare delivery system, with many poor families pledging land as collateral for medical treatment in private hospitals. Healthcare inevitably becomes a business deal. Another reason is the lack of training in good communication skills in our medical education, leading to lack of ability among doctors, particularly young resident doctors at the front line, to deal with fraught and stressful situations. As part of the medical curriculum, all doctors are taught clinical behavior, but not all are taught empathy. Whereas in clinical practice, effective patient-doctor communication involving receiving an explanation for the occurrence of the symptoms or signs. Likely duration of treatment, the lack of unmet expectations, and empathy are associated with overall patient satisfaction with these services. Many times, the patient does not comprehend the gravity of the situation and expects a better chance of complete recovery due to the improper explanation by the treatment doctor in a country like India. Due to the younger doctors face more physical violence. Female doctors are more likely to face violence. Department of Obstetrics and Gynecology reported the highest rates of violence, followed by the Medicine Department with the allied specialties and surgery with allied specialties. Studies also showed the top perceived causes for violence to be long waiting periods, delay in medical attention, and denial of admission, among other factors. The law stated that any violence against doctors would be treated as a non-bailable offense with a penalty of up to 50,000 rupees and a jail term of up to 3 years. In total, 19 states of India have some kind of act for protection of medical professionals and healthcare establishments. Thus, the law needs to be enforced strictly along with the deployment of adequate security personnel and government hospitals to ensure a safe workplace for doctors. The Indian Medical Association suggests that up to 75% of doctors have faced some kind of violence at work, which is similar to the rates from other countries in the continent. This violence may comprise telephonic threats, intimidation, violence, verbal abuse, physical but non-injurious assault, physical assault causing simple or grievous injuries, murder, vandalism, and arson. Medical professionals who had faced violence have been known to develop psychological issues such as depression, insomnia, post-traumatic stress, fear, and anxiety, leading to absenteeism. Many have lost their clinics, injured themselves, lost lives, and also tarnished their reputation as a professional due to these incidents. Both the patient and the relatives may get violent against the psychiatrist. Dr. Wayne S. Fenton, Assistant Director of the National Institute of Medical Health, was killed by his own patient with schizophrenia during treatment in 2007. Doctors should intervene before the anxiety reaches dangerous levels, but sometimes the patient's anxiety does escalate to violence. Standard operating procedure may be developed for such situations, like Code Purple, used worldwide to alert medical staff to potential violence. It includes the following measures to be taken in case of violence: an announcement on the hospital's public address system giving the exact location of violence to disseminate the information. A distinct siren may also be installed to alert everyone in case violence occurs. Security staff to respond immediately and assist if needed. All the staff except that of intensive care unit and operation theatre to come to aid and form a human chain around the professional under threat. The personnel involved in the chain needs to remain calm and avoid any altercation which may escalate the situation. A senior member of staff not involved in treatment may try to communicate with the patient's relative and try de-escalating the situation. All the members of staff to practice restraint and not lose their control. This graph shows violence against doctors leading to the number of strikes in hospital reported in India from January 2007 to November 2019. You can see that the graph is increasing drastically. Another incident where LHMC doctor assaulted for refusing to admit brought dead patient. Here, the patient's relatives also must understand the situation. I know there will be very much sad crying in a shock, but they should also understand the reality and must not beat doctors like this. Over 75% of doctors across the countries are reported to have faced at least some form of violence. Escorts of patients committed 68.33% of the violence. Doctors have been demanded a central law with stringent provisions for violators for effective implementation. Around 18 states in the country already have such laws in place. Here in this photo, we can see that India faces acute shortage of doctors. The World Health Organization (WHO) recommends for every 1,000 patients, one doctor must be there. But in India, every 11,000 patients have one doctor for treatment. No legal action. The Karnataka Prohibition of Violence Against Medicare Service Personnel and Damage to Property in Medicare Service Institution Act 2009 has a low conviction rate. This photo depicts the era of good versus the era of darkness. Now and then. Violence against doctors or any medical staffs is a criminal offense. Voluntarily causing hurt, IPC 323, up to 1 year jail. Voluntarily causing earth by dangerous weapon, IPC 324, up to 3 years jail. Voluntarily causing grievous earth, IPC 325, up to 7 years jail. Attempt to commit culpable homicide, IPC 308, up to 7 years of jail. Criminal intimidation, IPC 506, up to 7 years jail. Reasons for doctors to commit suicide. Violence against doctors, attacked by patient relatives, study for 10 to 15 years, no personal, family, social life, draconian laws and acts against doctors, poor infrastructure in most government institutions, harassment by police, politicians. Types of violence: physical violence, mob listening, blackmailing, harassment by police and politicians, abusing verbally, cyberbullying, intimidation by gestures. A fear that's palpable. A recent survey by IMA reports that over 80% of doctors in India are stressed out in their profession. 82.7% of doctors in India feel stressed out in their profession. 46.3% fear violence is the main cause in many doctors. 24.2% doctor fear being sued. 62.8% of the doctors surveyed are unable to see their patients without any fear of violence. 57.7% have thought of hiring security in their premises. 56% of doctors do not get a comfortable 7 hours sleep most days of the week. How to stop this violence? To create awareness among people, to show empathy and improve communication skills by doctors, to improve the medical curriculum, to teach med students to cope up with stress and to handle the situation. How to overcome depression? Support from parents and professors and medical officers. Others should observe for danger signs and act as soon as possible and give emotional support to the doctor taking counseling. So by this, I'm ending my video. Please do subscribe to my channel and support me. Thank you. And let us pledge that we will respect doctors and respect their words and to help them if they are in danger. Thank you.